presentation in just a minute. Some of you are probably aware we just released version 5.80. It's our third software upgrade for the SAS SATA platform in the last 12 months. So in today's webinar, we want to touch on some of the key changes we've been making. Hopefully this is going to save you some time and help you get the most out of these new releases. We actually have been continually working to improve the stability of the Sierra platform. Lots of small improvements, and these enhancements come almost entirely from customers. So thank you for the feedback. We want to encourage suggestions and questions. So if you have any comments or any questions during the webinar, please type them in the question box. We'll try to answer these at the end. And apologies if we don't get to them. We will try to follow up by email. And with that, we'll get started. Many of you have probably worked with Peter Lizak on support issues. He is our lead apps engineer for SAS and SATA. And he has a lot of expertise when it comes to the Sierra platform and has been really instrumental in getting a lot of these improvements into the software. So thank you, Peter. And over to you.
Thank you, Mike. Hello, everyone. Thank you very much for attending. So my main focus today is to run through the list of the significant new enhancements to the SAS SATA protocol suite release 5.80 software. Release 5.80 came out about 3 weeks ago now, so it's very new, and hopefully you've all been prompted. You open your application and are prompted to update to it and have done so. So here's a list of the main topics. There are some small things we're going to touch on the side as well. Just want to tell everybody that we will send all of the attendees the slide deck after the presentation, and it will also be posted on the Teledyne LeCroy website. That's also where if you did not when you loaded your SAS SATA protocol suite application, did not uncheck the box actually, so that you are automatically prompted when updates are available. You can always download the latest version from the Teledyne LeCroy website. Our software upgrades are always free. All users who own the equipment are able to upgrade to the latest version and be able to take advantage of the new features that it has. So, SAS SATA Protocol Suite version 5.80, what is new? Well, the number one thing is that it offers support for the new Sierra M124A analyzer and M122, the 2-port version. How this differs from the original M124 and M122 is that it now supports active optical cables. And why don't we launch into that from here. So the active optical seems to be, and managed cables, just as importantly. It's a active fiber cable that greatly enhances the maximum distance that you can put between an initiator and a target device. So, of course, so SAS continues its inroads into realms that were formerly could only be done with Fibre Channel with very long distances between the server and the storage. And that's an example of that here. So now the orange cables here between the devices, we can go up to 100 meters now. So we're making inroads into territory that was formerly fiber channel only. So the active optical, those of you who have been working with 12G SAS know that the biggest development of the 12G capability is there's now active back channel training between the initiator and the target to be able to get a clean eye and be able to transmit at those high speeds without any problems. The active optical being optical, that no longer is necessary, and we have a special enhanced decode now to support the active optical. You can see there during the OOB sequence. Managed cables, so it appears already that some 12G SAS HBA manufacturers are demanding that managed cables be used with their devices. So what this is, it's not active, but the cable has an EEPROM that announces information about its capabilities. We have discovered that there are some HBAs out there that if you do not use a managed cable, even though it is a 12G rated cable, if it doesn't announce its presence to the HBA, it'll automatically not allow it to run faster than a 6G at 6G. Here's a list of the things that the cable tells the host about itself. So, basic information about the cable. And we make it possible with the new 5.80 software to be able to read this information. Those of you who are using the M12.4, M12.2, 124, 122 analyzers might be familiar with this RxTX settings dialog. If you do have some signal integrity issues, you might avail yourself of going into this window and using the auto calibration. Now with the M12.4a, we will be able to push a button here, and it will display the information from the managed cables double EEPROM. There's the information as it pops up. Okay, moving on. So with the 5.80 release, our very well-received SAS Verification Test suite now supports devices up to 12, or drives up to 12G in speed. So it will, if you have a 12G SSD or hard disk drive and you run the SAS Verification Test on it, it will run the test at 12G. The SAS Verification Test, for those of you who are not familiar with it, it's a ready-to-run sanity check of basic link level, transport level, and application level protocol compliance. And this is really nice in that it's not real in-depth, but it's about 50 tests, 50 or 60 tests that just do some basic protocol tests, and you would expect your drive to pass all of them, or maybe all but just 1 and 2, if it's a ready for showtime device. The 12G analyzer utilizes the trainer tool to run the SAS verification test. Just mentioned that. Another enhancement that we have in the new 5.80 release is that this is, as most are by customer request, if you have a failing trace, you fail a test and you want to view the trace and why did I fail, you can view the traces without closing the test window. Formerly, you actually had to close the test window and then pull up the trace. So that's a nice feature. Just mentioning also, so if you have a 4-port analyzer, a Sierra M64 or a Sierra M12-4, the SAS Verification Test Suite allows you to run this NACA test, Auto Contingent Alliance test, that is a 2-port test that basically, if the ACA is active, and you send a command to the drive, the SAS device's second port, it should process that command. And so this requires, since it's a two-channel test. Sorry, I got a little bit blown off course there. The phone started ringing here in the room, but it's a two-channel test. It's the only two-channel test of the entire test suite. And on the M12-4, you actually need a special cable to run this test. So if you have an M12-4 and you want to run this test, send an email to PSG Support at teledyne.LeCroy.com, and we will make sure that we make it possible for you to get the right cable. Other recent enhancements to the SAS SATA protocol test suite is TCG Decoding. Our original TCG Decode actually goes a couple of releases back, but it's been enhanced a couple of times since then. I think it's been over a year since we first brought it out, but it's been enhanced a couple of times since then. And we now offer some searching of the TCG Decode, which we did not, and that is new to the 5.80 release. So as you see here, show over here, whenever we have this for a couple of main big decodes, such as the identify device for SATA, the discover list for SAS, and the trusted parameters data. You can push a little button in packet view, and this special decode comes up. If you prefer the spreadsheet view, you can actually do it. The special decode will pop up from spreadsheet view, the packet by packet chronological view as well. So we now make it possible to search for the method UID and the invoking UID from our search menu inside the received data for TCG. We've also, by customer request, made it possible to add TCG to the spreadsheet view. actually, that's really not just a TCG thing. Kind of elaborate a bit here. That another very recent, it goes back 1 or 2 releases now, our column view, which is the chronological packet by packet view here in this, what we have here in the lower, oops, kind of messing up there, lower picture there. Got my mouse caught up in the wire here. In the lower pane there, so that's the chronological packet by packet view. So now you can add and remove columns as you wish. So if there's some information, so in the past, Spreadsheet View has all been about what the engineers at Teledyne, LeCroy, our developers, decided this is the important information we think should be presented. We have had, I remember when SATA FPDMA became the standard, one customer complained, well, you don't have the S active information in there. And so we added that. But now virtually anything that we present anywhere in any of our views, you can go in there and create a column in column view and then remove any columns that you think are unnecessary. They're just cluttering up the view for you, or if you're going to export the data, you might get in the way. So that's a really nice feature that we finally have, that you can add and remove columns at will for the column view. So additional to this enhanced decode we have for the TCG and the Discover list, the view is now resizable. Originally it wasn't. And we have this right-click pop-up menu that has copy text, show hide fields. More customer enhancements. So our pending IO view is our outstanding commands, queued commands view for both SAS and SATA. So that's a separate view that I maybe should have put another slide here to show the standard view. But now we can display that in the column, in the spreadsheet view. This is another nice enhancement to spreadsheet view, making it more and more useful and more customizable to how you like to work. This is a recent enhancement, I believe from IBM in the UK. So of course, with the SAS commands, the maximum payload's only 1 kilobyte. So you can, with big transfers, you can have many data frames. And if you have multiple channels showing, you can just be inside a whole bunch of data frames and not know where who exactly they belong to, what command they belong to. So they said, can we have a feature where you can just jump to that particular data frame's command or response frame? So we gave it to you. Add measurements report to statistical report view. So the statistical report view is our, so we index the trace upon upload to the viewer, but we don't fully decode it. But we have indexed it. So we already know basically everything that's in the trace. There's never any post-processing required unless you're looking for some little thing that we don't let you search for. Then you could use our VSC or API tools. But the statistical report view, it's a view you can open up, and everything in the trace has already been bucketized, parsed for you. Originally, however, we didn't break it down by port. And one customer said, well, that makes it less useful to us, and so we have made that possible. So our trainer, traffic generator, and host emulators have always had the ability for one to export a trace to and make a generation script out of it. We used to advertise it as our plug and play, our record and play feature. So you can, if you basically captured an error sequence in the trace, well then you could convert that into a script and run that trace again on the drive and to validate how its behavior or reproduce the error and study its response. So the trainer is supported by the M12.4 and M12.2 12G analyzers. And one of the customers, first customer who started playing with us said, well, I want to be able to export the 12G training sequence, which we decode very nicely, but they wanted to be able to record that. And so now you can. We've always made it possible, or we have for some time, for you to be able to script up the training sequence yourself. That's laborious, of course, but here you can actually just record it and start that way. I threw in here that so when you do this, of course, you export the training sequence, the transmitter training part, train done, and the 58 scrambled zeros sequence is usually most of your trace. And then when you export it, it's going to tell you that I can't make that into a script without you doing some editing. And so that's the quick thing. Before you do it, you might want to delete some of the training, which isn't the TTIU part. Here's what it looks like. I'm exported to trainer, and again, this was one. What I did is I down here at the bottom, I only copied part of that entire sequence, which I don't think, I mean, that's just going on for time doing the same thing. And you can always increase the number of these or decrease them. But the important part up here, the TTIU part, has been preserved. So you SATA people out there, last summer, people started working on the new SATA 3.2 spec and ACS 4, and so now we're seriously using the fifth D word now that is required in the OX27 host to device FIS. And so we now fully decode those formerly reserved fields, and so just want to point that out. We do a special decode for the log address field. And here's a couple more. The ICC field, RARC field are all part of our Decode now. Just throw a quick aside there. Anytime a new command comes out that we don't support yet, we do have a user-defined decoding capability. You can go in there and by script, any unknown field that isn't being decoded by the analyzer, you can write a script to decode it as you wish. So further, so this is just a slide showing the Identify Device page for our device emulator tool, and so now it supports the SATA 3.2 spec. More enhancements. So the Infusion Jammer is a licensable tool. You may or may not have it on your analyzer. The M12.4 and M12.2 analyzers both support this. It speeds up to 12G. This is by customer request. Well, a couple of this. We have this new feature, the internal trigger event in action. And there are a couple of main enhancements that people have been asking for that it addresses. First one, requested fairly recently, a customer I'm working with right now, and I will be back in touch with him soon. So we have this internal trigger event and action. And contrary to the way the Infusion usually works, where you're looking for an event and then you act upon it, what this does is you put it as an action when you come to an event that you want it to notify all of the ports, and then you have the other ports look for that event, and then it can be to stop or to branch or to do other things. And so with this mechanism, it also allows you to do a wide port type of jam. We don't have an example of that yet, I don't think. Maybe we do. You could also use this to do bidirectional jamming, but it would have to be on different ports because the jammer, if you have a multi-jammer license for a multi-port analyzer, you can have jammer scenarios, a different scenario running on each port. And by doing this, you could actually jam in both directions. That's always been the only limitation, really, of our jammer product, is that you must choose which direction you are going to modify the traffic. You can look back and forth as many times as you want throughout your jammer scenario or script, but you must choose which direction of the traffic you're going to modify. Using this method and doing a wide port kind of thing, you could look for an event on one channel, jam on that channel, and then go to a different channel and jam in the opposite direction now with this new feature. Other Infusion Jammer enhancements. Customer asked for a not condition, and we gave that to you. And then this really cool new feature, jammer markers. And so you can put up to 7 markers, and what this will do is it'll put a marker in the trace, kind of like how we mark your trigger point, and the X and Y markers you can put in there. This will put markers in the trace that you can search for items. So when the jammer has an event, you can also mark it in the trace and go right to it. Very nice. Few additional enhancements. Application notes. This was something that Mike, I think, thought was a nice idea. So now, if we go to the all programs, LeCroy, SAS SATA Protocol Suite. Formerly, it gave you the opportunity to drop right into the Documents folder. And for those of you who aren't aware of it, that's really convenient. That's the way I always access our documents. All of the documentation, basically, that's available, unless you come and get a special infusion script or trigger project that I helped develop for you directly from me, it's all put in this folder. So everything we have is available there, the VSC manuals, the API manuals, but now also a collection of application notes. I think there's just 3 of them in there now, but I would think that we're going to add some more. Another new feature that's noteworthy. There are others. I kind of stuck to ones that seem to be noteworthy for this talk this morning. Customize opcode field color. I know one complaint some customers have about our packet view is that it's so monochromatic. The SATA commands are all a dark blue, and then or ATA commands, and then for the SAS view, the SCSI command level, application level, are all green, and of course the packets are pink. But a customer asked if we could give each opcode a different color, and we made it possible. Now you can. So you can easily differentiate different types of commands by color now. So others. So the 5.80 release and the 5.7 actually have some other pretty big enhancements for our power tracker feature, and for device sleep, and for the SATA compliance tests. These will be covered in an upcoming webinar that Mike Micheletti, the person who's helping me today, will be leading. And that's going to be sometime in May, probably around a month from now. We will have another webinar like the one today that will go over all of our enhancements for SATA device sleep and our power tracker feature. Also coming soon is another software release. Software release 5.90 is coming pretty soon on the heels of 5.80. 5.80 was delayed a bit because of the bit of a delay in the release of the new M12 124A hardware. So we try to keep on schedule with a new release, or 4 releases a year. So 5.90 will be coming in June, so pretty soon. So we'll be looking for that. So that went fairly quickly. Thank you all for attending. We have time available if there's anyone who wants to send us any questions that we can answer for you right now. Again, you are always welcome to send any questions to psgsupport@teledyne.LeCroy.com. That's preferable to sending it to my email address or Mike's directly, because if you send it to psgsupport@teledyne.LeCroy.com, the entire support group gets copied. So if I'm busy, someone else will pick up the ticket. We also have a support application that will, a support ticket will be generated, and we don't close that ticket unless it's clear that we have answered your question. Or if it's a bug or an enhancement request, we leave that ticket open until the software has been released that addresses that issue, and we have notified you. So send all your requests to psgsupport@teledyne.LeCroy.com.
Okay, thanks, Peter, for giving us a quick run through there. And I see that we have a couple of questions, and your expertise would certainly be helpful. One of our viewers writes that using the new software, they get an error message when trying to connect to their STX 231 analyzer.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, the STX. So the release 5.80 is only supported by the Sierra class analyzers. So that would be the Sierra M61, M62, M64 6G capable analyzers, and the new M12.4 and M12.2, M12.4A, M12.2A. So the STX analyzers, STX 231, STX 431, STX 460, and STX A64, those analyzers have actually been end of life for some time now, and the software is you need to use with those is STX version 4.20. And that is right there on the same Teledyne website page where you can acquire the Sierra SAS SATA protocol suite version 5.80. One more word on that. So 2 or 3 releases ago, those of you who have been customers for a while will recall that we had separate releases for SAS and for SATA. I believe it was with release 5.60, or maybe it was 5.50. We combined SAS and SATA into just one application. We still have SAS and SATA separated out on the website, but if you downloaded SAS SATA Protocol Suite version 5.80 from the website, it's the same version whether you acquire it from the SAS section or from the SATA section. That is not the case for the STX software. Those are still 2 separate applications for SAS and for SATA. And if your analyzer is only licensed for one of those protocols, you will not be able to run the other application. You will get, I think you'll be able to load it and everything, and then as soon as you attempt to make a trace, a warning message will pop up. Is the way it works.
Okay.
Anything else, Mike?
Thanks for that. Yeah. One of our viewers is asking about Linux support in the SAS SATA protocol suite, and I guess I could take this as we continue to have a long-term goal of supporting Linux with the software and the hardware. today it still remains a long-term goal. We don't have it on our short-term plans, but we know that's important for lab environments. We're going to try to get that done in one of our updates. But as you know, it's a pretty substantial re-architecture. So stay tuned. Hopefully, we'll have news on that soon. Let's see. We have another question here. Looks like, does my existing M124 support active optical?
Do you want to take that one, Mike, or shall I?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, so it has to be the brand new M124A, which has just been available for the last 3 weeks. So if you did not acquire your analyzer in the last 3 weeks, sorry to say, no, it doesn't. So don't know what much more to say than that. Mike, you got something to add?
Yeah, that again, if optical is an important part of your roadmap, you know, contact your regional sales engineer, and they can discuss how to get that supported for you. Another customer writes that in the latest release, well, they used to see a read-write performance metrics in the statistical summaries, and now it's disappeared. What happened?
Okay. All I can think of, so the read-write page requires extra processing time, and that used to be a big thing that we were always trying to minimize processing time because customers hate to wait, and you know, when you're making multi-gigabyte traces, unfortunately waiting is inevitable. But the statistical reports read-write page requires extra processing time. So it has actually always been a feature that is turned off by default. And it is activated by checking a box in the Preferences menu. And then if you checked it but didn't save your workspace, it's not going to keep running that by default. So that might be what happened. It didn't go anywhere. It's always been there, and it always will be there.
Right. Okay. So you just have to enable it.
Yes.
Okay,
and anything, anybody, if you have any questions, certainly the support people are here to help. I'm here to help. Again, send your emails to psgsupport@teledyne.com, and we'll answer your question.
All right, and well, someone has asked if we plan to have these webinars in the future, and the answer is yes, we certainly will. We're going to try to do these monthly, and I'll be actually, as Peter mentioned, providing a webinar next month on DevSleep compliance testing, which is now being considered for addition to the SATA logo compliance plan, and we will be introducing support for those tests. So definitely look for announcements about our next webinar in May on DevSleep and power management for SATA.
Sounds good.
Yeah, we wanted to keep this to about 45 minutes, and we're right at that point. So I want to thank everyone again for coming and joining our webinar. We will be distributing slides via email, so you can access those. And of course, the webinar will be available in a few days on our website for you to view at your leisure, or to send around to other colleagues. Again, thanks for joining us today.
Bye.